Now let's talk about OCD, Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder. Excessive thoughts, which is excessive, which lead to competitive behavior, which is compulsive. Now these habits tend to gradually fall into your life. It's not something that just wasn't there and then was there. Typically you start to see some symptoms in early childhood and then progress as an adult. Now this condition is typically lifelong, but there are definitely some cases out there where it's more short term, and it really depends on how progressed your condition is, how extreme it is. Now some of the symptoms can be depression and fear, which people tend not to think. They think of the most extreme, like social isolation, repetitive of words or burst out of words, which a lot of people do see. Hoarding is a big thing as well, and repetitive actions. Now, a lot of people, when they hear OCD, they think of the most extreme, such as checking doorknobs or turning on and off the switch for your light, things like that, things that you would see in a movie. Now, that is all real, but there is a spectrum of symptoms, to the most extreme, to the, the most, like, I guess, to something more minor. And no matter where you are on that spectrum, you still have obsessive compulsive disorder. Now let's talk about some of my personal symptoms. There are a wide range. Let's start with counting. I can see a number or hear a particular number, and it really depends on how my brain wants to work. If I see the number 2, I might say 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, and I'll keep doing it until I guess my body feels comfortable. Some people, when you go to therapy, they ask you, what do you feel like if you stop touching something? Like, why, they say, I have fear for my life. I have fear. I don't have fear. I just can't stop. Now, I used to, and used to is the right term right there, used to have issues with walking. Now, I would always skip over the cracks, whether it be a crack that kind of came after old age, or the cracks that separated, parts of the street, etc. Now, I would make sure that I would step over those cracks, and then if I somehow accidentally touched a crack, then I would have to walk on the cracks and pretty much repeat itself. If I walked on them, then I would have to not walk on them. And that's how I did my thing. I couldn't stop myself from doing it, which caused a lot of crazy faces looking at me. I also still, but not often, touch things without any cause. I still remember the day I was in my father's car or truck, and out of nowhere I touched like the front of the car, and I kept touching it, and he goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, just couldn't stop. And every time I would pull back, when I noticed he wouldn't look away, I would like boom, 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 like really quick. And I was younger then, and then I knew something was wrong because it's always been like that. And I finally got tested, and not tested, but I seen a doctor and everything, and that was a symptom I had. I also have one of my, I think, irritating symptoms is when I watch movies or I'm talking to somebody. My brain will attach its heart and soul on a particular word. Let's just say word, and I would say in my head word, W-O-R-D, D-R-O-W, and I would say that over and over again. Sometimes I'll repeat the word half a dozen times, and then only spell it forward once, and then say word twice more, and then spell it backwards. And I did that a lot watching movies, so I didn't want to miss the movie, so I would pause it and go through my episode and then re-press play. And it happens when I'm talking to somebody. So a lot of like therapy sessions or friends, I'll be talking to them and they'll ask me a question and then I'll sit there staring at them like not there. And that's because I am having some sort of OCD where I'm probably adding or counting or repeating or spelling in my head. So it does get in the way, and it's worse, I think. I think out of all my symptoms, this is probably the worst, is when I'm talking to somebody or when I'm watching a movie or TV or something like that. It definitely gets tiresome. So some other things that I don't think get in the way, I love it, is that my closets, which are behind me and everywhere else in the house, are affected. Everything is in colored order. The sleeves go by length. If they have collars, if they're buttoned down, sometimes even by texture, if they're more see-through, if they're more solid. And that goes with my jeans, if they have rhinestones in the back or not. The color, like if they're light jeans or dark jeans or black or white. My dresses go by length, they go by color, they go by, if there's multiple colors, I have a section of just the multiple colors. But then if they're a very different and extreme in length, they have a section. My home is very clean. I have learned to deal with, you know, messiness at points because I am chronically ill. And so there's gonna be some mess. So like in front of me right now, my bed is not made. And on the side, there are a ton of tissues because I've been blowing my nose. I've been having bloody noses for almost 2 weeks now, and just medications. So I've learned to control it very well. But if you go outside of this room, everything's fairly clean. And I mean fairly meaning everything's clean. So that is also affected. My car gets professionally cleaned twice a week. I can get it done as many times as I want for free because I pay for a monthly special or whatever. And I also have a cleaning system in my car, so while I'm at the light, I'm cleaning my car. So that also gets in the way. And I guess that's probably it for my particular symptoms. I may be missing some things. So for treatments, some doctors treat you with medication or therapy, sometimes both. I do not like therapy, so I've been treated with medications. Not as much as I used to be on, because the older I get, the easier it is on me, and I have learned to control parts of my OCD and not let it get in the way of my daily life. Alright, so I want to talk about Tourette's. I want to talk about it because Tourette's and OCD, to me personally, kinda work hand in hand. No, you don't. Not everybody will have OCD and Tourette's, or if you have Tourette's, you have OCD. That's not the case at all. But for me, it is. And when you speak to a doctor, they don't think it's weird. They say, well, it makes sense because of what I'm going to tell you. Now, Tourette's is a nervous system disorder which involves repetitive motions and repetitive sounds. Now, this sounds like OCD, doesn't it? I mean, the repetitive part of it, and that's why I wanted to kind of put them together. Repetitive sounds and motions can involve blinking, shrugging your shoulders, or a burst out of words, typically profanity, which I don't really know why about that, and I never really researched that. And maybe I have, I just never really found anything about it, but those are some of the things you see, which we call tics, T-I-C-S. I personally have motor tics, so I have tics in my neck, my head, my shoulders, so I tend to do a lot of this, and I can be just sitting here watching TV like this and do this. I do a lot of blinking in my eyes, and I do a lot of this too, which is also more of like a facial movement. Now, treatments for Tourette's are fairly similar to OCD. You are either treated with medication or therapy, sometimes both, depending on how extreme your symptoms are. Again, I don't like therapy, and thankfully I was able to find a medication that helps with OCD and Tourette's, so I don't have to take a handful of Tourette's meds and a handful of OCD medication. I get to take, I believe I take 2 medications for 2 conditions, and I'm basically taking 2 pills for each condition because they both treat those conditions. And you know, both conditions kind of coexist, and I think that's I think that's important to know, because when you see yourself as having both, you tend to freak out, and there's hope out there. If you can find the right doctor, you'll find a doctor who will bring things to ease, telling you that they are similar, they are different. I won't tell you that, you know, they are different, but they are similar, so you are able to find treatment plans that are less than having to take several to treat one disorder and the other. Instead, you could take a small amount of treatment systems, whether it be therapies and medications. For instance, therapy, you can see a particular therapist, and she'll be able to treat both conditions at once. And that is it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this diagnosis series and you come back for another one. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.